So at the end of Avengers Endgame, when Steve Rogers gives Sam Wilson the Captain America shield, I couldn't help but at the time feeling a little bit, I don't know what's the word to say, hesitant, because all I could think of at the time was, wait, no, Bucky's Captain America after Steve, not Falcon. Falcon comes later. But then the more I started to think about it, the more I was just like, wait a second, Bucky being Captain America doesn't make much sense because he is, mentally damaged. And as a whole, when you take a step back and you look at Bucky Barnes as the Winter Soldier, he is basically known internationally as a terrorist assassin. Like, yeah, that is not someone you want to be Captain America. And then you look at Sam Wilson in the MCU, who's basically been by Steve's side since Captain America the Winter Soldier. He's fun, he's cool, he's calm, he's collected, he's a counselor, and most of all, he is a good man. Not a perfect soldier, but a good man. So it makes sense for him to become Captain America. And I'm not gonna lie, in the first episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, when he gives the shield back to the government, I was kind of like, oh, okay, he's not Captain America then? So The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the next installment in Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It stars Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson and Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier. And I have to say right off the bat, I loved this show. To me, it was the spiritual successor of Captain America the Winter Soldier and Captain America Civil War. Those two Captain America films to me are some of the best in the MCU. And do you want to know why? It's because they're tonally consistent. Okay, it's not just that, but also the overall, grounded spy, thriller, action, adventure film. That's my kind of jam. I love those kind of films. And I love that Winter Soldier and Civil War are basically action, adventure, political thrillers. They are really great films. So I'm just going to do an episode by episode breakdown because surprisingly there's a lot to talk about in this show. So without further ado, let's get into it. One of the things I appreciated most about episode 1 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier is that it's literally just a character episode. It's character building. It builds Bucky's character, it builds Sam's character. Because before this show, I wouldn't say that Bucky Barnes was a fully developed three-dimensional character. In fact, after Captain America the First Avenger, he doesn't really have a character. In Winter Soldier, he's just Terminator Assassin, and in Civil War, he's Bucky, but he's not really Bucky, and there's not enough time, spent on his personality, and yeah. Bucky wasn't really a character. In Infinity War, he becomes the White Wolf, and then he, gets dusted. In Endgame, he comes back, and he looks cool and shoots some stuff. And more or less the same thing happens to Sam Wilson. I mean, Anthony Mackie has more personality than Bucky because, he's written to have more personality because Sam Wilson isn't a Terminator assassin. Sam Wilson is a counselor and an ex-soldier, and he becomes an Avenger just to do the right thing. But yes, episode 1 gives Bucky depth. We explore his PTSD with him being the Winter Soldier. We see him be out of touch with the world and struggle to get a date. But we also see that he feels lost and without purpose. Now, aside from Sam giving up the shield in the first episode, I didn't really care too much about his personal struggle. I mean, him and Sarah trying to fix the boat was fine, but I wasn't really interested in it. I will say, I did find the stuff with the bank and the way they dealt with the aftermath with the snap to be really weird, and it just didn't make much sense. You're telling me there wasn't an insurance scheme to help people post-snap get back on their feet? And also, are you telling me that the Avengers is a voluntary organization? They don't get paid? That just makes no sense. You'd think genius billionaire philanthropist Tony Stark would pay them, or at the very least, since Tony's dead, have Pepper Potts pay them? That just makes more sense other than the fact that they don't get paid for their work. But for me, the real highlight of the episode was the ending. When John Walker is brought out as the new Captain America, I loved it. I loved the way this show dealt with race issues. It wasn't ham-fisted, it wasn't in your face, and it wasn't tokenistic. The idea that the government decided to recast Captain America as another blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy was genius. Because at the end of the day, that's what the government would do. Captain America isn't the man or a mantle, it's a product. And like how in the comics when Miles Morales replaced Ultimate Peter Parker, or when Sam Wilson replaced, Steve Rogers as Captain America, there was outrage. And the government, because they wanted to play it safe, didn't allow Sam to become Captain America. They hired another white dude to become Captain America. It's just so realistic, and I loved it. Our intro to John Walker was really great. At the end of the day, he wants to become Captain America because he wants to do the right thing. I will say I love the modern version of Star Spangled Man playing when he goes out onto the football field. That was a really cool detail. But yes, I never hated John Walker as a character. In fact, I found it to be really compelling. He was just a good soldier that was given the mantle of Captain America, and he wanted to do his best. He wanted to honor the legacy. Granted, he was trying too hard, but yet again, he wasn't a bad person. I just don't understand, when fans were sending Wyatt Russell death threats, That doesn't make any sense to me. One, he's an actor playing a character, and two, the character isn't detestable. He's just trying too hard because he wants to honor his hero. Now, like I said, he does try too hard. The scene after the big truck fight where Bucky and Sam are walking along the road, then him and Lamar pick them up, and the scene where he's just like, "Hi, John Walker, Captain America." I'm like, no. You're trying too hard. Don't lead with John Walker, Captain America, just lead with John Walker. That being said, Bucky and Sam were so petty in that scene. Like, I get it, you don't love Walker. Walker did take away the position of Captain America from Sam, but like, at the end of the day, he was trying to, get to know them and, work together with them. Them just pushing him away just felt really petty and bitchy, and I was just like, come on guys, you're better than that. The therapy scene between Sam and Bucky, to me, was a great scene. Because not only does Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie get to, exude their chemistry and their great rapport, but also the moment where Bucky has that line about Steve where he's like, if Steve was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me. That hit me. That was really powerful. At first, I read it as Bucky being a bit petty, that, Steve picked Sam to be Captain America, not him. But then I thought about it a little bit more, and it's not that. It's more that if Steve was wrong about Sam being Captain America, then he was wrong about me being a good person. And once I realized that, I was like, oh, okay, that works a lot more. Speaking of powerful, Isaiah Bradley was such a brilliant addition to the show. Not only did we find out that he's a black super soldier from the 70s that the government used and experimented on, which was incredibly heartbreaking, but the way the show presents it just makes you realize that this stuff isn't fiction. It did happen in real life. And again, it's the show handling race issues in a really delicate way. And the scene that follows that with Sam and Bucky, arguing on the streets, and then the police roll up and you think, oh, they're gonna go arrest Falcon just because he's black and he's just being angry. But not only did the officers back off when they realized that Sam is the Falcon, but also, it's not that they went there to arrest a black man, they went there to arrest Bucky. Like, to me, that subversion was brilliant and just really powerful, and it was great. Episode 3 is probably the most inconsistent episode of the series. I did like that they broke Zemo out through montage, instead of, making episode 3 this is the big prison break episode. I thought that was really economical. And I will say, Daniel Bruhl's Zemo is just great in this episode. He's just so much fun, and he's like perfect meme fodder. I will say, I love that they finally gave him his comic accurate mask, but I will say it's a double-edged sword because the way they give him the mask is so sort of on the nose. Like, he takes it off and he just sort of like looks down the barrel of the lens, and it's sort of like a wink to the audience, and it's like, oh, you didn't play this very subtly. Also, he only wears it once in the entire series. Like, what the hell? I also like that they did name him Baron Zemo, though I will say it is very retroactive because in Civil War, you would think the fact that he was a Baron would come up. You would think in the scene where Tony is looking through Zemo's files in Civil War via Friday that aside from the fact that it mentions that he's Sokovian Special Forces, you would think that it would also mention that Zemo is a Baron, but I guess that's not noteworthy. Now, I also do think that the show made Zemo a Baron for the sake of convenience because they needed Bucky and Sam to hide out in lavish places with Zemo. And so what would be easy? Oh yeah, let's just say Zemo is a Baron and is really rich and owns a bunch of land. Like, that's just convenient. But in addition to the inconsistencies with Zemo, I will say a lot of the stuff in Madripoor is very hit and miss. Zemo dancing? Massive hit. It's amazing. Bucky pretending to go into the Winter Soldier mode so we can get into their meeting? Hit. Sam pretending to be a rapper called Smiling Tiger and nobody recognized that he's the Avenger the Falcon when in the previous episode some random kid goes, "Oh, Black Falcon?" That's a pretty big miss. Sam not turning his phone off during the meeting which blows their cover? That's a big miss. And the direction they took with Sharon Carter's character as a whole, to me, was just a bit of a miss. Not only is it weird that she becomes an illegal art dealer, not only is it weird that Steve Rogers didn't get her pardoned after Endgame, but it's also weird that you'd think that Steve would meet up with her after Civil War because, they were sort of an item. No, I don't hate Sharon Carter as a character. In fact, I kind of liked her. I loved her a lot in Winter Soldier where she was the next door neighbor that Steve had a crush on. I thought that was quite fun. And in Civil War, she was fine. Like, granted, her and Steve didn't have the best chemistry, but I didn't hate them together. The only reason why them being together is weird is because Endgame makes it retroactively weird because he ends up, marrying Peggy. So he essentially made out with his niece in Civil War, and that's just weird. But overall, her becoming the power broker that deals with international terrorists and mercenaries, it's just weird and unbelievable, and I didn't buy it for the character of Sharon. But when Ayo from the Dora Milaje shows up next to Bucky and is just like, I want Zemo, that was a great way to end the episode. It was really cool. Episode 4 is one of the best episodes of the show. The opening flashback with Bucky and Ayo in Wakanda was really great. Ayo trying to activate Bucky's conditioning only for Bucky to realize that he is now free was such an emotionally powerful moment. Sebastian Stan's acting was so raw and it it kind of brought a tear to my eye. It was really great acting. So I haven't touched on them yet, but Kari and the Flag Smashers to me were just meh as antagonists for the show. Like, they brought some decent ideas, but other than that, I didn't care for them. Particularly Kari, because to me, Kari, whilst she had good ideas, was just a petulant, whiny, ignorant child that was really naive, and I was just like, why does anybody follow her? Why does anybody believe her? She literally just sounds like a child, sort of just screaming and whining, and it's just, I didn't buy her as this villain of this terrorist organization. I did, however, like the scene where Sam confronted her and they were basically talking, and Sam was just, showing how disillusioned she was with her cause. And whilst her cause is idealistic and a great way to, imagine what the world could be, the way she goes about it is just wrong. Especially in episode 3 when she blows up a building full of people for literally no reason. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, after Kari did that, I just didn't care about her character. I was like, this character's either gotta die or go to prison because she is, like, irredeemable. But Sam talking to her and essentially bringing his counseling skills back from Winter Soldier was great. That entire scene made me go, yeah, I buy him as Captain America. Another highlight for me in this episode was Walker versus the Dora Milaje. Like, that fight scene was so great because I love how he just got his ass kicked. Granted, he deserved it because he was being a bit of a dick in that scene, but just, it was so cool. Ayo doing that thing with her fingers basically deactivating Bucky's arm was really great because I loved how Bucky reacted to it. He was just like, oh, even they don't trust me. The thing that I love most about it was that this was the moment where Walker realized that he really needed to take the super soldier serum. The power was getting to him, that feeling of powerlessness that turns good men cruel. He was like, damn, I feel so weak. I need to become more powerful. I need the super soldier serum. Speaking of super soldier serum, the scene where Zemo has the serum and he looks at it, I was like, please don't make him take it. Please don't make him take it. Please don't make him take it. Because to me, if he took it, that would just break the character of MCU Zemo. But I like that the show stuck to the core of MCU Zemo and had him destroy it, because Zemo doesn't care about superheroes, he just wants them eradicated. Because, in the hands of a lesser writer, they would have had him take it and, like, ruin his entire character, and it just would have been really generic and just over the top and just, yeah, not good. The ending to the episode, however, is easily the best moment. It is so powerful and so raw. Kari killing Lamar, enraging the now super soldier John Walker, him going after the Flag Smashers and then finding one of them, pinning them down, and then just killing them in his rage was so powerful. It was so great. The visceral nature of the scene. John Walker's understandable rage at the death of his friend. The public's horrified reaction when John Walker essentially decapitates the Flag Smasher. Like, it is so powerful. It's so well done, especially for a PG-13 rated show. Like, he lifts that shield up, he brings it down, and you go, oh, he either caved that guy's chest in or he decapitated him. That is dark. And then the final image of John Walker standing up, holding the bloodied Captain America shield, like, that was powerful. Now, episode 5 to me is tied with episode 4 as the best episode. That opening was just really strong. You really feel for John Walker. That shot of him sort of like hunched in the corner, hiding behind the shield, trying to justify his actions whilst also dealing with the pain of losing his friend and watching his reputation go down the toilet. Like, that was so good. Props to Wyatt Russell. He was amazing. And the fight between Walker, Bucky, and Sam was just fantastic. You really felt the desperation of Sam and Bucky trying to get that shield from Walker. I love how they literally had to break his arm to get the shield back. And then at the end of the fight, they're all just laying there and they start playing the music from Civil War, the dun, 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 dun. I'm so glad Henry Jackman returned to score because him implementing the Winter Soldier music and the Civil War music was just great. It really added to that moment, and overall that action sequence was just perfect. I love the moment where Bucky has the shield. He walks up to Sam, he drops the shield at his feet, he looks at him, and he just gives him this stare of, don't you lose this. Steve gave this to you. And the rest of the episode pretty much being downtime was really refreshing for a Marvel Studios production. Like, don't get me wrong, I know one of the reasons why the films don't do that is because they have such a limited runtime, but it's nice to see that this show, after its big action beats, is allowed to have downtime. It allows us to breathe and just share moments with the characters. The scene where Sam visits Isaiah again, then Isaiah tells Sam the story of how he went against orders to rescue his team, and instead of being praised like Steve Rogers was, he was imprisoned and experimented on. And when you put that in context with the rest of the MCU, it's sick, because Steve Rogers did the exact same thing and got praised for it. But because Isaiah was a black man, he was imprisoned and tortured, and it was just, I just loved the way the show was handling the racial issues. It wasn't shying away from it, but it wasn't being aggressive with it either. But when Isaiah says no self-respecting black man would ever want to become Captain America, That was just a really hurtful statement. It was powerful, but it really hurt. Because literally a couple scenes later, we see Sam's nephews playing with the shield, being children, playing, pretending to be Captain America, showing their innocence, like, it's good stuff. Now, this episode made me love Sam Wilson as a character even more than I have in the MCU, because even after hearing what Isaiah said about a black man being Captain America, he still doesn't care, because at the end of the day, he is optimistic. He believes that a black man can be Captain America, despite what happened to Isaiah. And I also love Sam and Bucky's bromance, friendship, whatever you want to call it. The scene where they make amends was really great. Sam advising and telling Bucky that Bucky hasn't been making amends to the people he's wronged, he's been avenging, was a really great moment, because it essentially tells Bucky that he needs to man up and tell old man Yuri that he murdered his son. And by the end of the episode, after Sam's training montage, which was very Creed-esque, I finally felt like Sam had become Captain America. He'd earned it. When he opens the Wakandan briefcase, revealing his new Captain America suit, I just sat there going, that's Captain America right there. The final episode was solid and a much cleaner finale than the WandaVision one, because, yeah, the more I think about the WandaVision finale, the more that falls apart. Sam kicking ass as Captain America was great. The suit looks really cool. I have like a couple of tiny nitpicks. I think it could use a bit more red and it's a little bit too bulky. Like, I think it needs to be slimmed down a little. But other than that, I love the suit. I think it's really great. The final action sequence was good and Carly's death was fine. It went roughly the way I was expecting it to. You know, Sharon shoots her and Carly dies. Like, judging by what the previous episodes had given us, I pretty much knew that Carly was going to die just because she'd gone too far. I also just found her annoying by the end. Like, I just look at her and I go, who in the Flag Smashers would follow her? She's just a whiny child. Like, when she's fighting Sam and she starts, like, kicking him and she's like, fight me, fight me! I'm like, God, you are childish. Like, ugh. Also, Rip Batroc. I love seeing him in the show. It just kind of sucked that he died before he got another action sequence that was on the same level as him in Captain America's fight in Winter Soldier. Now, I love the evolution of John Walker to US Agent. When he saves the truck full of people instead of going after Carly, the person that killed his best friend, I was like, yeah, that's John Walker. John Walker's not a bad person. He's just done some bad things. He's a decent guy. He's just not worthy of being Captain America. Now, Sam's speech to the world after the big fight was really interesting. Him saying that Carly had the right idea about creating a more equal world was right, but she had just gone about it the wrong way. And him essentially calling out the government saying, why don't you use your money to help these people suffering, was so true, and it was really thought-provoking. And when he finishes his speak and then Bucky walks over and he's like, good job, Cap, like, yeah, they, like, completed their character arc. They're now, like, best buddies. Steve would be proud, but not only that, Bucky now realizes what Steve saw in Sam. I also loved how after the big action finale, the rest of the episode was just really intimate. It was just characters resolving everything. I mean, scenes like Bucky telling Yuri that he killed his son was really good stuff. Like, it was really emotional. I also love how the final scene is, you know, Bucky coming back to the boat, playing with Sam's nephews, him and Sam, like, you know, best friends, they walk off into the distance, cuts to black, and then the title card, Captain America and the Winter Soldier shows up. Like, that was just a perfect ending. Hopefully we get a season 2 of Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or if we get a movie trilogy instead, I think that would be really great. Though I do think a continuation needs to develop Bucky further, in the sense of that he needs to move on from being called the Winter Soldier. Like, the next season or the next movie, wherever these two characters appear in next, it needs to end with Bucky discarding the Winter Soldier moniker completely and him becoming the White Wolf. Overall, I really enjoyed The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I thought it was a solid miniseries and it was probably one of the best things Marvel has done in years. I will say, I find the formula for the Marvel Disney Plus series to be really smart. They're side stories. You don't necessarily need to watch this show for the next Avengers film. Because if you saw Endgame, you know that Steve Rogers made Sam Wilson Captain America. But if you watch the show, it's essentially a great character piece for Sam Wilson, because at the end of the day, he realized that he needed to earn the title of Captain America because he personally felt like he didn't deserve it. It's a great series that fits in perfectly with my favourite parts of the MCU, Winter Soldier, Civil War, that sort of tone. I loved it. And I can't wait to see where the characters go moving forwards. But what did you guys think of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Hit the notification bell down there. My social media links are down in the description, so if you could, for those who are looking to follow, that'd be very much appreciated. And until we meet again, see you guys next time.